Hi everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome to the Bowlers Union. I'm just watching Keith chugging a
Oh,
coffee that he reckons is the best coffee he's ever made. You're pretty happy
it,
with it, aren't you?
it's top draw, mate. I don't know how I've done it any different. Don't feel like I have, but it's perfect. I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah, to be fair, you know what? I've actually got a cup of Aldi instant coffee here, so it's not hitting the spot at all. So
Well,
I'm jealous.
the thing is that people won't know how much of a coffee connoisseur you were, but it seems like you've just kind of given up on it. What's going on?
Um, yeah, okay. So my theory is it's quite a lot of work doing them at home, which is fine. People go through that phase. I'm in a mustache phase, right? So you go through these phases. Um, so basically, if I go out, then I'll have a nice coffee. That's kind of my thing, and I'm happy just drinking black coffee. Um, black coffee around the house and stuff like that. Basically, um, that makes me better than anyone who doesn't drink black coffee. Have you seen that meme? Have you seen the guy with the board? Have you seen him on TikTok or
No,
Instagram?
I haven't. No.
He just holds up a sign, just sort of taking the mick out of people. And one of the signs is, just because you drink black coffee doesn't make you better than me. Do you know what I mean? And it's true. Some people drink black coffee as like a badge of honor, don't they? But in my case here, yeah, I'm just saving my coffees for, if I pop to Warwick Street Kitchen or something like that in Leamington, maybe somewhere in Leicester, that sort of stuff.
I feel like when you were more of a city lad, you were more about your coffees. Now you're out in the sticks. You kind of moved away from it then.
I don't
Seems.
know about that. I think it's also about saving a bit of cash. Back in the day, well, I've obviously got school fees and stuff to pay, but back in the day, yeah, I'd be throwing some cash around on coffee on a monthly basis, mate. It was pretty scary if you looked at my bank account, I reckon. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to get into the experience of going for a coffee. Like it's quite nice, isn't it, to go to a good coffee shop
Mm.
and enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Even everything, the decor, the smell, the coffee itself, all of that sort of stuff, the peace and quiet. You know what I mean? So when I'm at home, I feel like I may as well just drink it straight up, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
That's my theory.
Fair enough.
Although I do have a machine, I need to clean a machine. I mean, that is one thing where we've moved. I've got one of those. I've got like a Sage machine or whatever that needs cleaning, and it needs what's the word? When you put that chemical in that cleans it from the
Yeah.
inside. I've got to do that.
Okay, so a quick question. If that was all done, it was like kind of cleaned up and you'd had it ready in the kitchen, would you be using it?
Yeah, possibly, but then then you got to grind your beans and stuff. Um, I had a French press phase not too long ago, um, which was good fun. But again, there's quite a lot of admin, isn't there? You have to get the right beans, you have to grind it to the right coarseness and stuff. You have to weigh everything. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying to, I'm too busy editing podcasts and stuff like that. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's true.
Anyway, what are we talking about today? We're talking about managing. Following on from your post today, we're talking about managing your body through your career and stuff like that. So this is going to be a good topic, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, it's amazing over the years now of playing, coming to the last few years of my career so far. It's like how things have changed, how kind of on the ball I need to be pretty much every morning when I'm training or coming to the ground to play a game. That if I'm not right physically, I've not done all the correct things, all the boxes that I need ticking, then I'm not going to perform to my best.
Well, that's fair. Go on. Well, go on then. Should we? Let's start with like now. You've just said there what you've got to do in the morning. Are you talking about a typical morning? Are you talking about like a match day morning or a training morning, or is this like an
More,
everyday thing?
more a match day morning, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I would say training from a gym perspective, let's say, I can't do certain things that all the other lads will do. So sometimes where it's been that cold outside, I wouldn't have been able to run on the concourse that we have because my knees are knackered, Chris.
I thought you were going to say because your knees play up in the cold. Then, like proper
Uh,
proper
my
old.
knees are just knackered, and the impact of not having any what's it called?
Cartilage.
Any cartilage.
Mm.
I'm bone on bone. If that quad muscle is not fired up enough to protect my knee, then yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. So I'm now all my CV work is all on a bike. Always on a bike. There's not really that often I would do any sort of outside running to get myself ready for the season. It'd be biking and then kind of saving all my running for when I bowl, basically. So it'd be a lot of bowling as I build up towards the season. That's how things have changed.
Yeah, that's actually quite logical though. At the end of the day, your conditioning for bowling is kind of bowling, right? Do you know what I mean? Being fit to bowl. People talk about that all the time. So when you were young, what was it then?
I do
Were
what I
you just
want.
indestructible?
I just walk into the gym and crack on. Like when you're young, you think about it. You're just kind of told what to do, aren't you? You don't know any better. You don't know what benefits you're going to get from doing these gym programs. You just know that your aim is to get stronger, get quicker, try and be as fit as you can, and try and be the fittest in the team. So you just crack on, you do it, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning feeling all right, and you just go again.
just repeat, just rinse, repeat. Well, I mean, to be fair, when you're younger, you don't quite know what works for you yet, do you?
No.
What kind of age do you reckon you start actually really knowing what exercises and what training works for you?
Do you know what? I think it all depends on the player and how into the physical side, like the fitness side of it, how much they like engage and lock into that. For me, it only happened when I realized that when the injuries started to come, and then it was like, right, I need to do certain things because these are the only things I can do to help with this knee problem that I'm having or this back issue that I'm having. So that's when it became more serious. So I was a bit of a late bloomer, shall we say, Chris?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I mean, obviously we're talking about you a lot at the minute, but your football career, I'm assuming you did quite a lot of yards then, right?
Oh,
Do you know what I
mate,
mean?
yeah. Constant running, constant fitness. Obviously, the football intensity of it when you got to like training with the first team and stuff was insane.
Just chasing after two guy.
Chasing his shadow just to try. I mean, that's a total different level of fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, some people would look and think cricket pre-seasons can be difficult compared to football. Nah, it's a walk in the park. But it's more about football's more about how you've just got to be better than that individual and make sure you're fitter than the person you're trying to come against. Whereas cricket, it's more about as a bowler, it's how long can you keep going for throughout the day, where you do bowl for 6, 7, 8, 9 overs on a bounce, whatever. You might have a little bit of a break where you stood in the field, but then can you go again? And that was really tricky for me coming into cricket from football.
Yeah, to be fair, I keep saying to be fair. I don't know why I keep saying that, so I apologise to the listeners. The fitness for football, I imagine, because obviously I've not done it, but you're going to get to that horrible place because of the emphasis on conditioning there is. When
Yeah.
you're literally on your knees and you feel
Yeah.
awful, your heart feels like it's going to come out through your mouth, and you can
Yeah.
taste blood in your mouth and all that.
Yeah.
That just isn't a quality that's required for cricket at all, is it? And then equally, weight training. Let's take that as an example. I feel like that's generally thought of as being more fun. Is that fair? So like the whole framework of a footballing training session to a cricket one is very different. And like you say, if it's weights based, well, actually, people like hurling some tin around generally, don't they?
They do, yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think personally what age I started to get it in terms of what worked and what didn't. I feel like you've got to marry success. So and we're talking on field success here. So it's no good just being good in the gym for the sake of being good in the gym. But whatever you're doing in the gym, that you enjoy that correlates with you being successful on the field, that's the first tick. And the next tick is that it's not hurting you. Do you know what I mean? Or it doesn't irritate any injuries and stuff like that. Yeah, I feel like mid-20s was around the time for me personally. When so for example, let's take RDLs. We're talking about training and stuff. When I was younger, I chew them up like no problem. But now I still like them. I do enjoy them, but they leave me a little more sore. And so if they're programmed for me in season, I'm a bit like, nah, you know what I mean? Got to adapt that a little bit. Because lower back and hammies and glutes just get a bit, I think it's because of the lowering obviously element of the exercise. So I don't enjoy them. But to be fair, again, squatting, I tend to quite enjoy. I don't mind that at all, I think. Do you know what I mean? But again, it's years of working this all out.
Well, this is the thing as well, I will say with this is, obviously when you're young, you do push yourself as hard as you can. But unless you are willing to really push yourself, you'll never know what your limit is. So what actually works for you and stuff like that, and what really is beneficial, I'd say to a point, is sometimes you need to push yourself past your body's limit. You get injured and go, right, I can't do that. That's too much. I had it with me and you, where you were doing your standard warm-up in the gym beforehand. I just kind of go out, loosen up a little bit. And I started to like, all right, I'm going to do a little bit like Wrighty. And I started doing wide arm pull-ups, trying to get my front arm activated for pulling my front arm.
Okay,
yeah. And then the same game, I tore my side.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, you learn though, right? You can, that's genuine now. You've learned that, and it's advice you can pass on. But there's all sorts of little silly things that really hurt. Like, so, lateral lunges.
Yeah.
They kill me. Even with no weight at all, they just feel so bad on my knees and stuff. I'm like, oh, no interest. But yeah, I watch some lads in the gym, they just smash them. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting kind of one to pay attention to, if you know what I mean. When you're watching everyone else and you're thinking, oh, you kind of want to do it, but equally you got to sort of stay in your lane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think then? You've talked about now, as this is a bowler-centric podcast. Why don't more people just, if you're on the bike looking after your joints and stuff like that, you're getting your conditioning from bowling, why isn't everyone doing that?
That's a great question. And that is probably something you'd probably have to put towards S&Cs as to why that is. Because a lot of the time, I've spoken to many players about this, many bowlers about this, is it's all good being gym strong, but are you bowling strong? Because there are a lot of people who really smash the gym, the top of fitness tests and everything. They look great, but then bowling wise, they break down. And it's almost that they've put too much time into just the gym aspect, that they haven't got the body in a place where it is able to cope with the pressures of bowling for long periods of time. So yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. We'd probably need to get someone else on to chat about that, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, it just sort of came to me there because, and we use running as an example, because you've talked about your knees and doing conditioning on the bike. But I've literally had a complete brain fart there. Let me just mark this time down. I'll keep talking. Yeah. So, in terms of on the bike, you've talked about impact on the knees.
Yeah.
How fit do you actually need to be in terms of, like, let's say a 2K test that people do now, or a yo-yo, right? Once you meet like a minimum standard of it and you're competent, then shouldn't you then shift to the bike to maintain your lungs and your fitness in that way, and just relieve all the impact, except for bowling, and maybe one tempo session, like you said, once you're outside on grass?
Yeah, I mean, Well, tell me what you think of this. I mean, this has happened with myself recently. Is obviously with my knee operations and over the years and stuff, that running has become less important, and it's been more about trying to get some miles in my hammies from a bike and quad from the bike sessions and lungs a little bit. But I've been told that because my body over the years has got used to the loads of bowling that I do, it's not as important for me to do a lot of running now, because my body's got that in the bank almost through over the years of playing. So maybe that's partly why I'm able to get away with just doing bike and less running. Like last year, I had a real mess up. I was in really good condition come January. Comes to February, I'm feeling good. Knee gave way in the gym doing like some track bar, like jumps.
Okay.
Yeah, my knee kind of gave way a little bit. That swelled up. I wasn't able to bowl. Pre-season came, went away. We were there for 8-9 days. For the first 4 or 5 days, I couldn't bowl. Tried to bowl. Every time I run into bowl, my knee would swell up. And it was looking like, how am I going to actually bowl this season? And they were just like, if we can get a solid month of just slowly building back up to bowling, you'll be fine. And to be fair, I was. And I think that's to do with the load that I've had in my legs for the years. So it's changed.
The bowling is the important thing, and that's a really good point. You know, in injuries, literally, in terms of managing your body through a career, injuries mess you up, don't they? Because you obviously have to recover from the injury itself, but you miss time to work on your skills. So like if you're a bowler and you have a stress fracture, let's be honest, that's a year's worth of volume and bowling and skill of bowling that you miss out on for getting the injury itself. So getting injured is criminal. I remember a few years ago, I went to Australia for a winter. I got given a gym program by our S&C at the time, and fundamentally it was really good, right? Really enjoyed it. But there was this one part of it, which needless to say now I've completely canned. It was an overhead barbell split squat. And the weight on each side of the barbell was uneven. So it was designed to be a trunk exercise. So you didn't go too heavy. It was basically, you can imagine, over your head, you squat down or split squat down, and you have to control the bar, which is obviously, tricky. So anyway, we're talking tiny amount of weight here. So we've got the 20 kilo bar. And I would have had, I'd started off with a 2.5 and a 5 on each side. And really slowly progressed. I got to the point where I think I literally had 10 kilos and I think 15 or 20, because I was trying to get stronger, which is the point to a degree, isn't it? To progressively overload in the gym. Anyway, that tiny bit of instability, I missed. I did something slightly wrong. Just tweaked my neck, and I literally wrote me off for 2 weeks. I could not move my neck. So even leaving the gym, I had this big Toyota Corolla thing, that brilliant car, but horrific car. It had no power steering, and I couldn't reverse because I couldn't look behind me. I could barely move. So it was like the most dangerous 2 weeks of driving ever. But equally, it just kills you, stops you training, stops you playing cricket. So that's a massive one, isn't it? I guess that's been quite a lot of chat there. But the point being is, from a training perspective, eliminating the rubbish from your programs.
Yeah.
How old do you have to be to start doing that? Or can you, if you're a young lad, right? Let's say you're a 22-year-old professional and you were given a gym program for your S&C. Could you say, "Oh no, I'm not doing that, pal. It doesn't work for me"?
I think there's probably a time where you definitely could not. But I feel the way things are going, that I feel like youngsters will just say that anyway, and then there'll be a little bit of a discussion of why they're doing that exercise, but they may change it slightly. The SC may change it to kind of cooperate with the youngster, and it's tough because I'm going back a step here. If you look at like being young, you can do anything that's thrown at you. Like, look at it from a lifestyle point of view. what were you doing at 18, 19? I bet you're not doing the same thing because you know it'd affect you so much now.
My word. Do you actually want to know? I'll tell you because it's quite funny, right? So, and bearing in mind I was pretty pony back then. Actually, I don't know if I was at uni. Well, maybe I was at uni until June or whatever. But I remember at one point, this is when I first started getting into poker, so it's not the best. I used to go to like a Polish coffee shop because they, it was like a little internet cafe kind of vibe, but it wasn't very busy or anything. And I used to drink coffee and eat those like wafers with the little layers of chocolate in. I used to eat hundreds of them and play online poker every afternoon. This is after training, so I used to literally I wasn't a first in, last out kind of vibe. I was like just get in, first out, go to my Polish cafe, eat those wafers, and grind away on the online poker circuit, which I wouldn't advise. And obviously, when you think about it, that must have been killing my body because, do you know what I mean? I'm sat there in an uncomfy seat, just staring at a computer. Yeah, that's not so cool. I do. Well, actually, I don't know if I do regret it because I did enjoy it. But in terms of, I could have been more better with the old recovery and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I was someone that I'd be like PlayStation, get home, straight on the PlayStation. I'd be on it, like playing Call of Duty, whatever. And then I'd go around to my mates a little bit later on, and I might beat my mates playing FIFA and whatever till like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, knowing that there's 2 days out before a game. It's like how I could never ever do that now. I'd be drifting throughout the game just from losing like a real night's sleep. It's amazing what we were able to put ourselves through and think nothing of it when we're younger.
Yeah. I mean, what would you advise then in terms of what we've just said? Would you be nailing your recovery even from between 18 and 22?
I think I'd have to, if I could advise my younger self, I'd be like, right, let's have some time management. Yeah, enjoy yourself, blah, 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 but make sure you do these things that are going to make you feel better in the morning. Because I don't know if you remember as well, I do stuff like that. And then, remember we'd have to go to the David Lloyd Solly Hull to do our gym session. And I was getting up at 5:30. So I might go to my mates and like be back by 3 in the morning, go to bed, be up at 5:30, cycle to David Lloyd. Because I'm like, right, I need to be really fit. Cycle however many miles, like 10, 11 miles, whatever. Cycle back, then do a bowling session, do a gym session, do a running session, go home and be back on the PlayStation. I gave myself no time to recover. So I was just punishing myself constantly. And also like trying to lose weight to make sure my body fat's whatever and this, that, and the other. I just punished myself. So I'd be like, right, let's have some time management. Yeah, go to your mates, but be back by a certain time. Make sure you get 7, 8 hours worth of sleep at least. Like look after your body, rehydrate. Something I never did, Chris. And this really bit me in the arse massively once. Where you get food before a game, like a one-day game.
Yeah.
really hot time of summer. I can't remember what year it was. Me and Steph Pilot went in early. Oh yeah, pasta's on, but they did like pasta with like bacon and bits of sausage in it, like amazing. Then got loads of cheese on it. Like, oh my god, what a feed! We bowl first, run into bowl, gets to like my third over, and I am like gasping. I'm like, there's no moisture in my mouth. I'm thinking, I'm never doing that again. And I knew it was from me just piling my face with loads of carbs and salt. So yeah, just like you have to go through those things to learn from them. It's just you got to make sure it doesn't really blow up in your face at the wrong time, or else you're going to look stupid.
The sad thing, the unfortunate thing is it's the best way to learn, isn't it? By unfortunately making a mistake, because it does seem to me that sometimes as an older player, and genuinely, I'll have the lads I play with their back and stuff, And every now and again, I'll kind of say something that I'm genuinely trying to help them and give them a bit of knowledge. And I can see that they do not give a shit. It might be something like that. I'd be like, oh, just make sure you get this done and then you'll be sweet or whatever. And I can see him looking at me thinking, not now, old man. But genuinely, it's like I've literally been getting that wrong. Where do you sit with nowadays PlayStation and stuff like that? I feel like it's worse than it when we were younger. It wasn't as bad as it is now for like phones and PlayStation and stuff like that. I feel like that's such a huge trap that people can fall into.
Yeah, I think it's just the norm now, isn't it? Really, it's become the norm that it's like what we travel to away games and there'd be a bit of cards or whatever, a bit of poker, whatever else, and you just kind of you'd have your phone and whatever else, but you'd interact as a team more. I felt, whereas like now, I know for a fact traveling away on a bus, lads are like, "Who's bringing the PlayStation?" just so they can play it on the coach, and yeah, there's a lot more of that goes on now. I don't see it changing.
The issue is if you're being like really hyper professional, which I'm not saying I was when I was younger or whatever, but there's more knowledge now. Let's imagine you rack up 3 hours a night of PlayStation time or whatever, or just screen time on your phone. That how much better spent that could be. 3 hours, you could be doing so much other stuff.
Yeah.
That's more hours than you're doing training.
If you were organised, yes. I think it's because there's no organisation that the easiest thing for younger players to do is just like go on the phone, sit there and do whatever, watch football or just chat absolute nonsense. If you're organised, you could be like you are doing now, Chris, reading a book every day. Just making the most of the time.
I mean, let's be clear, I'm not reading a whole book every day. That would be amazing. Just 10 pages. But you know what? Yeah, it's good. It's good. The book I'm reading at the minute, literally every 10 pages is something like brand, you know what I mean? Not brand new, but like just something I'm really thinking about. So we've touched on training gym-wise, a little bit of lifestyle there. Would you advise younger people to have you sleep properly? Is that like one of your top bits of advice?
Yes, massive. Sleep's so important, which I didn't think it was. And then now, obviously, 2 kids deep, you kind of going, yeah, sleep's super important.
Yeah.
As you know yourself. So, yeah, sleep is another one. Warm-ups, which we haven't touched on yet.
Yes, yeah. Warm-ups and recovery. So can we get this all into one kind of thing?
Yeah.
What are the biggest differences then? Let's talk about warm-ups. Biggest difference from now to back when you started.
Warm-ups for me is I would do a lot of like bowling. So I've never been a keen person for like the actual team warm-ups because I've kind of just wanted to do my own thing. But I wouldn't feel like I need to bowl and bowl and bowl for ages. And because you're younger, you can keep going. And then I'm almost in my second spell by the start of a game when we play. But as time's gone on, for me, it's going to take me a similar amount of time, but doing less, just making sure it's more elite in how I'm doing it. So I will warm up to bowl. I would take a few strides, let go of that ball. I'm still stiff, but then as the clogs start ticking, start working, then it becomes right. I know I'm going to bowl for X amount of balls, make sure everything's in the right condition, swinging it, I'm nipping it, I'm off. Whereas I think that's partly because I know I've got the confidence to go out there and then bowl at a high level for what I feel I need. Whereas when I was younger, I didn't have that confidence that I could do that straight away. So I'd bowl and bowl and bowl and bowl and bowl and bowl. Yeah. And one story I had, me and Stefan Pilot, we were playing against Sussex. It was his first game against his old team.
Oh, yeah.
T20 game. And he wanted to show that he was a serious T20 bowler, bowling in the middle with his little off-cutters and everything else. And in the warm-ups, before warm-ups, we went out there. I bowled a few Yorkers, a few wide Yorkers and everything else. I reckon he bowled about 10 to 15 overs from before warm-ups to finish. He bowled about 15 overs, no word of a lie. Came to the game, bear in mind he's only got 4 overs.
Yeah.
I think it was like his 4th ball in, he's cramped up, he couldn't bowl. Like,
So, I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? Oh, no.
something that he then learnt from, but he was that keen to make sure he was on it. He just gone way past what his body was wanting him to do, and he learnt the hard way.
Jesus. I mean, that is the hard way, because you don't associate T20 with cramping up, do you? Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's not really a thing. So that I mean, that's brilliant. I guess, yeah, I agree with you with the warm up there. I think this comes down to finding what works for you. So what I've found is I need to feel a bit of impact.
Yeah.
Before. So for example, I reckon I get more out of running drills. You know what I mean? So we're talking like some of the skips and some of that kind of stuff, and bowling itself. I get more from that than I do mobility in the morning. So I could do all the mobility in the world. I genuinely feel now at this point that is not helping me come ball 1 of the day. You know what I mean? I really don't. The only thing really, if I'm being honest, pre-game is it's almost like jumps. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff, and bowling itself. Yeah. So that didn't used to be the case. Like you almost bowl, don't you, when you're younger? And this is fine. You almost search for the skill you've got to perform, and you're trying to find that sweet spot where you think you can just take it into the game. Whereas I think now it's more a case of you've got a career and a, what's the word I'm looking for? A database of bowling, haven't you? Almost to fall back on. You know you can bowl well. You don't need to bowl 20 plus balls in the warm up at all. It's just your goal is almost to reduce the junk volume out of everything, isn't it? Whether it's training or warm ups.
How have you found like this? This is definitely from how it feels for me every single time. Warming up to bowl now is painful. Like it really is painful. Where before it was like kind of crack on with it when I was younger, running bowl from ball 1 and try and do as much as I can. Whereas now it takes me just as long, but I do less. But the pain I'm going through, I won't. Now I'm talking about like tactical paracetamol, kind of when to take it, when not, and I'm going through a lot of pain for the first what seems 15 minutes at least of bowling before I'm like, okay, I'm sore, but I'm able to move the way I want to. I'm going through the pain barrier, upping the ante every time I'm running to bowl. But then I'm going to take some painkillers to erase that pain, and then I feel like I'm a young spring chicken again.
See, this is funny, right? I think my way of combating that, because I'm a little bit scared of it, because you're right, it is a bit, is I like to do some run throughs without bowling. So I'll do that, like the Tom Curran thing. I'd normally do that there by the pitch, obviously without taking an umpire out or anything like that. So I do some run throughs because obviously that gets you running in, but then you don't have to actually bowl. So I do that. Then I'll do some bowling off a short run up, and I'll sort of build it back. And then I'm maybe ready for like 1 or 2 balls where I combine it, and they're quite unpleasant. But I try not to overdo it. And then at that point, I'm sort of ready for whatever's going to happen. If I'm starting bowling at the start of the day, assuming like this was day 2 or something, then I'm like, right, the first one's going to be uncomfortable, but the adrenaline will kick in.
Do you know what I see? You running in to bowl and then not bowling, I'm seeing that as a waste of a delivery, because I do not want to have to do extra run throughs at all. My body like, don't do this for no reason. There must be something on it, or else it's a waste of time.
This is my theory. I know this is from a long time ago when I had stress fractures back in the day, and I was like, right, all junk volume of bowling is going. right? So I was like getting rid of it totally. And so what I found was that was like running in and kind of about to bowl. That was bowling without bowling. So that would get me loose, but there's no junk volume attached to it. That was my theory. Um, and also it's right by the pitch you're playing on.
Yeah,
So it had the visualization aspect and
yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, I see your point. I see your point. But yeah, I quite like that. But like I said, you probably bowl more balls than me off a full run up in the warm up, I reckon.
Yeah. Do you know what? I forgot one real key thing here, and I can't. It might be my car from this morning. There's something I need to do before I actually can go out there and just warm up to bowl.
Oh yeah.
A complex machine that the clubs let me use, and without me using that to stimulate my quad, I'd probably be done, mate. Genuinely.
Really?
I'm genuinely serious. If I didn't have a complex machine to stimulate my quad muscle to kind of protect my knee at times, I couldn't. I'd be done. Like my sister came over, spent some time here last season, and she was shocked to see me moving around the house. She was
Really?
like, "How are you? You look a totally different person when you're out on the pitch." I'm like, "Well, I struggle on the pitch, but yeah, this is what it's like when I'm not doing anything." Like, walking
Yeah.
down the stairs, I feel like I'm like walking down the stairs like Captain Hook with one leg. I
Yeah.
am like a massive thud every time I drop down one side. So that's what I need to do before I actually go outside to warm up is a bit of quad stimulation for 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
So I mean, I've not used a complex, but is that not the same as let's use the hamstring for example? Is that not the same as doing some like RDLs, or not RDLs, some arabesques to get your hamstring going? I don't really know what a complex does.
No, so for me, like if I was to show you now, I can't do a normal leg extension on a leg extension machine. My
Can't
leg,
you?
my leg wants to straighten out, but that last 15-20% of extending out, my
Yeah.
knee goes no, because my quad cannot fire my leg to straighten out. That's with no weight.
Is this your left leg or right
Yeah,
leg?
yeah. So my back leg.
Right.
So I then need a different way of stimulating that muscle. So just complex machine on, sitting down, using that to fire it up. I can then from that, while using the complex machine, I will try doing some single leg squats onto like a seated little seat,
Yeah.
which is horrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the only way I can get myself out onto the pot to then look at jogging into bowl. And even then
See,
it's uncomfortable.
your is slightly different, but it's the same premise of you're getting ready to feel impact.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm luckily I'm able to get what you're getting there from the running drills, I think, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's the same premise, isn't it? Because ultimately, yeah, you need your muscles firing.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, it's a minefield, isn't it? It's a minefield, to be fair. And what about recovery then? All right. Oh, before we get on to that, you know what I've started doing as I've gotten older,
Go on.
and at Leicestershire, they cater for it well. Is I like to have a bath in the morning. I like to have a warm bath.
I can't do that. I've
Right.
tried that.
You know
I
why?
couldn't.
Because it makes me feel warm from inside out. So I actually feel like, oh yeah, I actually feel. I'll be honest, that gets me looser than rolling around on the floor. To be
Really?
honest. Well, yeah, you know when you walk, how much better is life when you warm,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I think I'm taking that to that level. I've always liked sun and going away and stuff like that. We don't anymore. Pre-season tours seem to have gone. But these warm baths, yeah, I like it. I get out of the warm bath, and then I feel like actually I can do a tiny bit of mobility in the changing room, and then I can go outside and hit it a bit better. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I've
and it's
always felt
hygienic.
that. Yeah.
I smell great.
I've always like don't get me wrong. So I'll shower, but in the mornings we're different. I have a cold shower. Yeah, that's horrible. Again, it's dreadful. It's actually worse than having an ice bath, I think, because
Hmm.
the water's constantly hitting you differently when you have an ice cold shower.
Yeah,
But that once I've done that and I start warming up, I feel so much better and so much more active to get myself going. But then from a recovery point of view, most days now when bowling, I am signaling ice bath. I need to have an ice bath when I come off.
Really?
Yeah. Just trying to be as professional as I can be now, mate. I can't not do it. I have to do it.
I'm going to throw this one out at you here because not everyone's going to agree on things and stuff like that. Do you think they actually do anything?
Yeah.
You actually do? You genuinely think I feel better now?
I feel in the morning, this sounds weird. My calves and my quads, because obviously I'm not going all the way in, but I'll go up to the belly button. Everything feels more compact the next day, so everything feels more solid rather than lactic acidy kind of muscles. Just don't feel like they're compact enough to fire the next day.
And how long do you get in there for? Because I know there's lots of different theories, isn't there?
I'll do 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, again, we just mentioned I don't like the cold, right? That's my issue.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously 10 minutes. I'm not sat there 10 minutes just doing nothing, because that would play on my mind how cold I am. I'm literally like on my phone, like YouTube, I watch a comedian just try and like help me get through it. Like I can't sit there for 10 minutes alone, or else I'm going to be out there a lot quicker.
You know what? I think I remember having an ice bath when I was a bit younger, when I was at Essex. And I was getting into one, and Andre Nell was getting into one next to me.
Mm.
And I just remember the carry-on getting in. He was like, "Don't show any." I remember, like, "Don't show any emotion," all this sort of stuff. And I remember being like, "Have a day off, mate." Like, yeah, you're like, "There's no medals being given out here for whether you like an ice bath or not." And I'm just sort of, I don't know. I've never felt it's done much, but then again, I probably haven't done them consistently enough, maybe. But I'm just backing. I feel like am I a cold-blooded creature if I like warm baths, or what? I don't know, but I feel like being warm really agrees with me, and ice baths just are the opposite end, aren't they? And I feel like it's my job to be, as a professional, to understand how I work so I can do my best for the team. So
exactly that. That's what it comes down to, is what works for you.
Amazing. More recovery stuff then, right?
Yeah.
And we talked briefly, didn't we, before we started, about nutrition and stuff like that. Has your outlook on nutrition changed much or not?
Yeah, God, like gone are the days of, oh, should we just go GBK for a burger? Like, too much salt will ruin me. I'll be dehydrated. I won't sleep great. I won't feel great in the morning, and it's harder to get me started in the morning when I'm warming up. I have to be feeling in a good place. Make sure I've got quite a lot of water on board. Make sure I've rolled out with the little physio balls that we have. And I feel a lot better responding from that. I've had to grow up, Chris.
I tell you what, we could do some content, couldn't we, this summer? To be honest, about we could actually do like 2 different ones. You could do one where you're doing that, and I could do one where I go for like Wagamamas and have like five dishes. Compare and contrast kind of thing. So interestingly, I like salt. I actually make sure I have a lot of salt, because otherwise I get crampy, as you well know, Keith.
Yeah.
And I don't like getting cramped. So it's one of the worst things. So actually, all throughout the day, I'm trying to regularly take on a lot of salt. And I think that counteracts some of the caffeine as well. Do you know what I mean? It's a very delicate balance.
Well,
caffeine, which dehydrates you. And then,
yeah, I mean, same. Diet is so important for me. High blood pressure, Chris. I've got to watch what I eat, how much I take.
oh, sure, yeah.
So I've got to be really careful now. I can't just be sinking my teeth into some triple stacked double cheeseburger. Do you know what I mean?
Oh God, don't do it, Keith. Oh, so hang on, you're saying this, right? So if we played together now, which unfortunately we don't play together anymore, and we were like, right, let's go for some food. Are you telling me you're not Keith Two Shakes Barker anymore?
No,
What?
no, I'm not. I don't. I wouldn't even have a shake. Genuine.
Mate, that's a far cry from the Warwickshire, the peak Warwickshire days, isn't it?
Yeah, gone to the Oreo milkshake, vanilla and butterscotch or whatever it was. Yeah, that's all changed now, mate.
So if we went on pre-season to Dubai again and we went to the Cheesecake Factory, what would you have this time round?
If it was a one-off, I'd be like, all right, let's do this. Let's do it properly.
Take it down. Amazing.
Do you know what I was
Amazing.
thinking actually? Barbados, when we used to go out for lunch round the corner to the across the road, what was it called?
Oh, relish. Oh,
Yeah.
mate.
What days? What days, eh?
You know what? Actually, excluding like family, and we're talking like from a work context. Some of those pre-season tours to Barbados, just absolute the peak of enjoyment. Yeah, that was so nice. When every now and again we go there and they'd have a pulled pork sandwich. They had the bacon and egg.
Yeah.
I'm making out like it's just a bacon and egg sandwich. This is not your ordinary bacon.
It wasn't.
And egg, is it?
Yeah, it wasn't.
There'd normally be what, 4 of us there, just chilling out.
And then they had the restaurant which did the unbelievable pizza. We've kind of gone off what we're meant to be on about here, but we do still like our food. But yeah. But recovery, I'm a lot cleaner than what I used to be. I try to be anyway.
Is that would you advise younger players to be doing that or not? Or do you think you just get to an age where you have to start doing that?
I think it's better to do it earlier because it's not then a shock to the system.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. People don't talk about that side of fitness and nutrition enough, do they? When you go and see a nutritionist and they give you the most unrealistic food plan ever, and you're like, I can only cook omelets.
Yeah.
And you've got like, I'm going to be doing like a salmon risotto and whatever. It's like, it's not happening. You've got to build up. So I completely agree with you, mate.
Do you know what? I remember this. This is going back some years. This is going back from like 2009, I reckon. Jarvid at Warwickshire he had to speak with the nutritionist, and the nutritionist was like, when you're hungry, what do you eat? And he's like, I don't know, just anything, like kind of thing. Yeah. And it's like, all right, so where'd you go for food? And he's like, I'll go Nando's. He's like, all right, so whenever you get hungry, this was what the nutritionist. Whenever you get hungry, just have a chicken breast. Just do that. And I'm thinking, that's like, no, Chris. When I tell you this, I've got chicken breast just there in the fridge in case I get hungry.
Oh, what you do now?
Yeah, just in case. Like sometimes, you know what? Yeah, rather than be looking to make myself like a chili jam and cheese toasty, like, do you know what? Nah, there's chicken breast there that's cooked. I'm just gonna have that.
When did you cook it? Did you buy them cooked or?
No, I'll cook it. I'll cook like 4 or 5, and then just like in the fridge, and I'll have them throughout the like 2 or 3 days, and that's one way of helping me keep a bit more professional.
That's pretty cool, mate. To be honest, I rate that from you. Yeah. See, I feel like this is another episode. To be honest, I'm just keep thinking of other episodes at the moment. Food, because food on its own is an amazing topic. But basically, eggs are your friend, aren't they?
Yes.
Quick stuff. So based on all of this, then, managing your career or managing your body and managing your career from a physical perspective. What are our big take-home pieces of advice for the listeners?
I would say really look at what your training program looks like, whether you're professional or not. Like if you like going to the gym, look at how much is really benefiting you doing what you're doing. Can you get rid of, like you said, get rid of some of the junk that's in there? Because there will be. No one's got the perfect program, really. So that would be one thing from a training and a gym point of view. Lifestyle look, it's kind of this is difficult for younger lads because I feel like younger players, they want to experience life and do whatever they want. But at some point, you're going to have a look at what you're doing, especially if you're trying to make it. You've got to really kind of be on the ball and go, do I need to do that? We talked about in one of the other podcasts we did about if you are trialing, you've got to clear that junk early. You've got to look and go, well, let me not drive for 3 hours in the morning before the start of a game. If I can afford it, or I've got someone who lives closer, can I stay there? You've got to start looking at being as clean and as sharp as possible. So that would be the same with your lifestyle. Can you cut out some junk that you're doing that you know is not benefiting you?
Yeah, that's fair. That might be that could be FIFA, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It could be too much time on FIFA. It could be a pack of chocolate digestives every night.
Yeah. Warm-ups and recovery, find out what works for you that actually is beneficial.
Yeah, agree. We skipped past a little bit of cricket training, but that's okay. We can do another podcast on that. But the big one for me is what you first said, removing junk, because actually in every single area, you've only got one body, right? So I'm going to come at it from that attitude. You've only got one body and you need to look after it.
Mm-hmm.
Remove the junk. And I think a nice message to sort of wrap up with is if it's not helping you, it's hurting you.
Yeah, somewhere down the line, it is going to hurt you, for sure.
There you go. Should we leave it there then, Keith?
We'll leave it there, mate. Yeah.
On that bombshell. Right. Take it easy, everybody. And yeah, we'll hear from you soon. See you, Keith.
Cheers, mate. Bye.